are going to go ahead and get started, so I hate to interrupt your networking. You know, I hate to do that, but we have to get started so we can give our speaker lots of opportunity to wow everybody. He's feeling a little bit of the pressure, he told me when he came in, and everybody kept running up to him saying they were excited to have him here. We are as well. So just some very quick announcements, and we'll get our sponsors up here to share their commercial with you. But since last month, we have participated in 3 ribbon cutting ceremonies, which means there's 3 new businesses that have opened up in Pickerington. And we also attended the Violet Township Community Center stakeholder meeting, so there's going to be a lot of new information coming out about that over the next several months. And we added 4 new members since our last luncheon. A couple of them are with us today. We have with us 2 new members, Leslie Thornton with Bookkeeping Bliss. Leslie, where are you at? Over here. And now we have 5 fabulous sponsors with us today that we want to ask to come up here and share their commercials with us. So we will start out with, well, actually, let me announce them, and then we'll just go ahead and have all of you come up here, and we can just kind of go one to the other. So we have Rick Wagner with Wagner Insurance, Jolynn Vargas with Sinorama, Heather Landon with Heartland Bank, John Watson with Habitat for Humanity of Fairfield County, and Amber Hart with CareWorks Comp. So give our sponsors a round of applause and come on up here and share with us. Someone has to go first.
Thank you very much. Brad is passing around a basket right there. If you haven't put your business card in, I'm giving away a free lunch. Please go ahead and do so. And then we're also going to use that for another drawing, I believe, for Mike. Yeah, okay, wherever he's at. Okay, quick commercial. Rick Wagner, Wagner Insurance, 27 years, helping individuals, families, business owners, senior citizens, and those in the agricultural and farm communities help protect what's most important to them by offering a wide variety, a wide portfolio of insurance benefits, and we represent well over 40 different insurance carriers, so we have a lot to offer. The main reason why I wanted to come back a 3rd time this year to sponsor this luncheon is actually to promote an event that I am hosting next month at Pickerington Senior Center. You all have a flyer on your table. I talked about it last month. It's called Networking for the Pause. Anybody who knows me knows that in addition to my family and my farm and my business, I have 2 passions. One is networking, and the other one is taking care of animals. So all the profits, all the proceeds from this event is going to Forgotten Fawpaws, which is a local non-for-profit, takes care of small animals in Pickerington area. On the back side has all the different ways you can participate as a sponsor, as a networker, an exhibitor table, or in our auction. I want to thank my sponsors, of course, Wagner Insurance Agency, Blue Moon Catering. You know the hors d'oeuvres are going to be great because Barbie's going to be sponsoring that. Bougie Action Coach and Design to Print. And in addition to coming and being a sponsor, having a table, we're having speed networking sessions, and Bougie Action Coach is going to be doing a short training, how to enhance your 30-second commercial. So please consider coming. If you can't come, give the flyer to somebody else. If you want to donate in the silent auction, we'd be happy to take your item. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Hello, my name is Amber Hart. I am a program manager at CareWorks Comp, and we are really proud partners with the Pickerington Chamber. I've had the pleasure to work with Teresa over the last year. And we are, so, you know, the Chamber has a lot of benefits that they offer their members. So their workers' compensation program is one of those benefits, administered by us, CareWorks Comp. So we're a TPA or a third-party administrator, and one of our main goals is to save employers money on the premium they pay to the Ohio BWC. So we do that through group rating and group retro programs. Hopefully all of you are familiar with that, or you're in a program currently, but we want to save you money, and we're not just a discount program, so we care about getting your injured employees back to work and health and productivity, and we want to be your advocate. We want to learn about what your challenges are when it comes to safety or claims and provide you with some solutions to those challenges. So my recommendation for everybody today is just to compare your current savings and your fee with the chambers through CareWorks Comp. It's very easy to do. You can do that there's a form on the back table there, an AC3 form, or just simply come up and talk to me, have a conversation, and it'd be my pleasure to help you and compare those savings. And my business card is on the table as well. So now's the time to do that. It's a good business decision to compare and just make sure you're getting the best service and the best discounts. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Heather Landon. I am the new branch manager at Heartland Bank. I've been with Heartland since January. I've been in the banking industry for about 8 years now. I came to Heartland because it is a community bank. I was working for a large corporate bank, and there's a lot of differences if you have not dealt with a community bank than there are with large corporate banks. We have a plethora of options from commercial lending, agricultural lending. We do home lending, HELOCs, home equity line of credit, jargon there a little bit, but we have a really wide variety of options for every need in your financial portfolio. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today are opportunities to help your employees. There's a lot of benefits out there that cost money. Heartland offers a service for group banking to your employees that is a no cost to you that could give some additional benefits to your employees with their banking needs. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm not a very great public speaker. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Jolene Vargas, the owner of Samarama Shop. I have a question for everybody. Would you like put your name, promote your business and put your name out there, let people know as many as possible? Please raise your hand. Awesome, everybody want to do that. That's why we are here. We are one-stop shop of full-service sign shop to help you grow your business and advertising your business and put your name there. We do channel letter, vehicle lettering, window, door, and we do business card, and we can do all kinds of signage can help you grow your business. And as many people knows. We also, if you guys interested in some awesome business card, I bring some sample on the table. You can come take a look and fill in them. It really can let your business card stand out. We also start doing canvas. If you like some awesome picture being printed out hanging somewhere, just send us the picture, we can make that happen. So we are located at East Main Street. If you need us to help you grow your business, you can contact us, or we will go there to meet you there to try to help you grow your business. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, John Watson from Habitat for Humanity. Anybody want to tell me what's the best county in Ohio? Fairfield County, that's right, and we represent Fairfield County. And pleased to be here. Tracy Bedeau, one of our board members, is here too, and Mike Miller, our development director. We have one mission and one mission only, but we have a lot of ways to get to that mission. And our mission is to facilitate the American dream for veterans and citizens in Fairfield County. And we are specifically working with veterans till the year 2026. Our goal is 20 houses in 10 years. We're 3 houses in and already complete, and we've got 3 more houses that are starting pretty much next month and through the first of next year. We have 8,000 veterans living in Fairfield County, and of those 8,000, we have 1,700 of them living in substandard or unsafe housing, and that's not okay with us. And that's who we work with. We partner with partner families. We build that house together, and then they pay us back on an affordable mortgage, and then we turn that money around, and it goes right back into the next family. We're like the coolest pay it forward little organization that you've never heard of. We have a super exciting event coming up on the 15th of September. We have partnered with just about everybody in the community that we can. It's called a spirited evening at the Miller Building. We are dying to meet you. We've acquired the Miller Building over across from Ohio University Lancaster, and the very first thing after 3 months of cleanup is we're going to throw a big party. And Double Edge Brewing is going to be there, and Rock's Edge Winery is going to be there, and lots of local restaurants are going to be there. We've got stilt walkers and fire breathers and a local band that's going to play, and there'll be a little mini tour set up. And the best part of all, it's in costume. The building was built in 1828, and so we're working in the costume range of 1830 to 1860. Think Victorian. I've already got a top hat, tails, and a glass top cane that I'll be sporting around the grounds that night. I don't know how well, but I'm gonna rock that outfit as best I can. We have tickets online for sale at habitatfairfield.org and also on our Facebook page. You can get tickets at both the Restores, the one in Pickerington on Courtright Drive behind the Dairy Queen, and the one in Lancaster on Slocum behind the Dairy Queen. Are you seeing a pattern here? We like our Dairy Queens, so we like to put our Restores right next to the Dairy Queens. The Restore is the coolest Home Depot thrift store you've ever seen in your life. Stop by the one in Pickerington or stop by the one in Lancaster. Everything we do drives us closer and closer to building for families that otherwise wouldn't be able to achieve the American dream. And for that, we thank you.
I'm going to go without this. You guys can all hear me. I have a big enough voice, right? So it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Kwame Christian. Kwame is a business lawyer and the director of the American Negotiation Institute. In this role, he conducts live negotiation and conflict resolution training sessions for organizations. Kwame's TEDx talk, Finding Confidence in Conflict, was viewed over 24,000 times in less than 24 hours and was the most popular TEDx talk on conflict of 2017. Kwame hosts the podcast Negotiate Anything, where he interviews successful professionals and shares powerful persuasion techniques. With over 200,000 downloads and listeners in 140 countries, it is the top-ranked negotiation and dispute resolution podcast in the nation. Please join me in welcoming Kwame Christian.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I feel like I traveled from a different country. I forget how far Pickerington is from Columbus. Let's see, am I hearing an echo? Are you hearing an echo? Can you hear me if I talk like this? Let's do that then. All right, cool. So when I present, there's one rule, and that is that you must play with me, okay? We need to have fun. I don't give boring lectures because then I get bored. And I don't like that, okay? So what I mean by that is when I ask questions, they're not rhetorical. I actually want an answer. And if you have a question, you should ask that question because most likely somebody else has that same question in the audience, but they're too afraid to ask. So just ask that question too. I present better the more I'm interrupted, and I'm being 100% serious, okay? And so if I ask a question and nobody is playing with me, then I'm going to find the person who last took a bite, and I'm going to call on them, and I'm going to do that because I'm jealous and I didn't get to eat anything. All right? Sound good? All right. So question number one, what is negotiation? Oh, yes. Conversation. Go on. I like that. Good. A conversation between two parties to meet a common goal. Do you listen to the podcast? That sounded good. See, okay, so another thing, it's not fun if you get the answer like perfectly right the first time. Then it's going to be a really quick presentation. That was really good. Good. Anybody else want to add on to that? Getting the best deal. Getting the best deal. Spoken like a businessman. Good. So how do we determine whether a deal is good or bad? Mutually beneficial. Good. Good. What else? Anybody else want to add to the definition of negotiation? Yes. Give and take. So there's a process. So somebody participates, then another person participates. You go back and forth. I like that. Good. Very good. When was the last time you negotiated? How many people have negotiated in the last year? Raise your hand. Okay. In the last, good, I like this. This is good. You're catching on. In the last 6 months. In the last 24 hours. Good. Okay, so somebody with your hand up. Oh, I see you. Yes, you. So when was your last negotiation? Aha. Good. So for people who didn't hear, she said there's work and then there's my children. So I have a son that's about to be 3 in October. So every morning, every single morning is a negotiation over the same thing, every time. So we're going to get to Kai in a little bit. But yes, very good one. So what was your last negotiation? Let's get somebody else. I saw more hands. Yes. Very good. Did you get a good deal? Very good. Nice. And one more. Yeah. Okay, that's a big one. Did you say you won? Good. Very good. Yeah. So essentially, what we're seeing here is that negotiations they're happening all the time. So my definition is a negotiation is a conversation where somebody in the conversation wants something. So this is happening daily, and what you're going to find is that the majority of negotiations we have are going to be with the people who are closest to us. So our colleagues at work, our families, our friends, our children, all the time. And so the reason I want to have this intentionally broad definition of what a negotiation is because I want you to be able to understand strategic opportunities to get more of what you want. And so for me, with negotiation, I see there being 3 pillars of negotiation, 3 main goals. The first one, we have offensive uses of negotiation. That's where we're trying to get more of what we want. Now we have the second pillar, which is defensive uses of negotiation, and that's where we're trying to avoid things that we don't want. And then the third pillar is strengthening relationships. And when you think about all of our interactions as some kind of negotiation, you'll see that there's always an opportunity to get something, one of those 3 things. Even if we don't get a deal, and even if I end up in a situation where I still am I'm exposed to things that I don't like, and I think conflict falls into this category, we can always engage in the process in a way that strengthens relationships. Make sense? Questions? Good. Okay, now with this presentation, you kind of get to pick content, all right? So that makes it fun. Now, with the TED Talk, what I realize is that a lot of people struggle with conflict. Is conflict something you'd like to discuss today? Or are you all good at that already? Because if you want to talk about conflict, we can talk about that as well, like difficult conversations. How many people want to talk about that? Okay, were you afraid? Come on, guys. So what is conflict? Disagreement. Okay, disagreement. Let's get something else. I like that. That's a big part of it. Oh, okay. I like the way I like the interplay between these two. That's very good. Let's get one more. Usually adversarial. And what do you mean by adversarial? Good. Yes. Aha. So they're diametrically opposed. It's like my way or this way. Good. Anybody here married? Does it feel familiar? That's good. Oh, you can't hear me in the back? All right, let's try this again. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll hold it further away too. All right, so how do you typically feel when you're engaging in conflict? What are the emotions that are associated with conflict? Yeah. Defensive, good. Annette? Discomfort. What kind of discomfort? Discomfort how?
It's like that feeling of like trying to figure out like how things are going to be impacted if you're, what's going to happen afterward, whether this is something you bring up, and it's just a really uncomfortable place to be in depending on the situation.
Gotcha. So it sounds like there's a little bit of uncertainty too, right? And so my background's in psychology, so this is why I approach it in this way. Yeah, I'm a lawyer and I like to get things done, but I'm also pretty cognizant about the way it affects us psychologically and emotionally. And uncertainty is one of the most troubling emotions or feelings that we have. And when we go into conflict, that's what we're feeling a lot of times. I'm going into this, I know it's going to be emotional, I'm feeling defensive and scared, the other person's feeling the same way, and I don't know how this is going to end up. And so what I want to do with the time that I have is kind of give you a little bit of a structure that you can use to get a little bit more certainty and feel a little bit more control during the process, all right? So the way that I define conflict, I like really simple definitions. It's a negotiation with attitude. That's it. It's a negotiation with attitude. And so what we need to do is remove the attitude, and then we just have a negotiation. Because with negotiation, typically, we're talking about substance. There is something substantively that you want or I want, and we're having a discussion to figure that out. But conflict has that emotional element that makes it a lot more difficult, right? So once we figure out how to remove that element of emotion, then we just have a basic negotiation. Good? Questions? No questions. Ah, yes, I saw you. You pulled your hand back, but I saw you.
Sometimes conflict happens after you maybe had a bad day at work, and you come home and you take that bad day out on your spouse. Mm-hmm. Didn't intend to, it's a time.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a really good point. Because with a bad day, it's a temporary type of state, right? I have this emotion or this feeling that happens often. It's called hanger. Anybody know what hanger? I'm getting close to it now because I haven't eaten yet. But yeah, so it's a temporary period of insanity, right? And so I use the word crazy colloquially, but really what we're dealing with a lot of times is that we have these temporary moments where we're crazy. We're upset because of some reason. Something is happening in our lives that is making us more emotional, and that makes it more difficult for us to engage, right? But then also the other person, we might look at somebody and say, oh, they're crazy. And then we just say, crazy, period, forever. No, it is a state that has a beginning and end. And so what we want to do is we want to be strategic about the way we engage and possibly engage in a way that makes us able to alleviate that period of insanity, right? Good question. I saw another hand somewhere. Are you pointing it out? Oh, you forgot your question. No problem, no problem. All right, so what we'll do is we're going to first start talking about negotiation and some of the skills we can use there, and then we're going to move into conflict. And let me know time-wise where I am. Just give me 10, 5, and we'll wrap. Okay, so one of the best ways to understand what negotiation is by getting a firm understanding of what a negotiation is not. And some things that might look like a negotiation, but there's a little bit of a difference. So we're going to play a game. It's called What's the Difference, all right? So what is the difference between negotiation and sales? Or is it a trick question? There isn't. Okay, what does sales mean to you?
Sales means I want, well, I'm mostly a purchaser, but it's something I want, so that's what sales, I really go out and buy it.
Got you. Okay, so you're on the purchasing side, you said? Okay, so for you, it's going out and getting something that you want. Mm-hmm. Good, very good. And I see a hand back there.
In sales, there's only a binary equation of whether you succeed or not. You either buy or you don't. In negotiation, there are many different outcomes that could be acceptable depending on where you are at the end.
I like that. That's good. Did everybody hear that? So there are more outcomes in a negotiation than with sales. That's very good. Yes? Oh. Ooh. How many salespeople are in the room? Get her, get her. So I did not mean to come to Fairfield County and incite violence here, okay? So for those of you who didn't hear, she said, negotiation takes skills, sales doesn't take skills. You know, some people might have something to say about that, but I understand where you're coming from. They're different skills. They're different skills. I like that. That was good. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, there we go. There's the distinction. Are you one of the politicians that's here? Good. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Yeah, fun show. Yeah, we're business people. We like Shark Tank. So with Shark Tank, we have entrepreneurs that think they have the best idea in the world. They come and pitch it to investors, and we see if they get a deal. right? And so what we see is a lot of times the entrepreneur would come up and they say, hey, this is my widget. I've sold this many in the past year. I've been featured in this magazine. We have this many followers on social media. You should invest in my thing, right? And so then the sharks say, well, what's your ask? I'm asking for a $100,000 investment for 10% in my company. And what often happens? The sharks freak out. Like, no, absolutely not, blah, 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 blah. And so what does the entrepreneur do? Oftentimes what they do is they say, well, you might not have heard, but it has this feature, and it's been in this publication, and we have this many social media followers, and we've had this many sales, right? They're kind of repeating themselves. And so this is the slight distinction between negotiation and sales. With sales, we're determining whether or not somebody is going to purchase, but with negotiation, we're talking about the details of the deal. And so right now, as the deal was put forward, it's a no. No, that's it. And so that sales part can kind of ended. But now we've established interest. We're at that point where the sales process has established interest, and now we're talking about the details of the deal. I have this relationship, what's the future going to look like? And if you're not able to shift and recognize when you've established interest and when you need to start talking about the details, then you're going to have problems, because that's when you need to use the negotiation skills, like you said in the back. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so what's the difference between negotiation and arguing? Oh, I'm glad I'm here. This is good. Yes? Gotcha. Yes, essentially an argument is zero sum. Either I win or you lose. That's very good. I saw another hand. Good, good. Compromise, negotiation. That's good. Yeah, so it's a zero-sum game where my winning necessitates your losing. And when we approach these conversations as arguments, it's problematic, because then I'm in a situation where I say, well, I'm not going to lose in this conversation, right? Yeah. Aha, yes. Right, and so for those who didn't hear, he said arguing often has emotion, and that's where we have that conflict, right? That's a good point.
I think arguing also, oftentimes, the goal is to prove the other person wrong. And that's really, like, it is about winning and losing, but it's also convincing somebody that their position is wrong, and that doesn't garner anything.
Exactly. That's good, yeah. So think about what being wrong means. What does that mean for me? If I am wrong, why am I wrong? Because you're right, but it's deeper, like on an ego level. For me personally, what does it mean? You failed? Maybe I'm stupid, I don't know enough, I'm uneducated, yeah. You might have the facts wrong, but if somebody approaches it in an aggressive way, even if I find out I have my facts wrong, I'm not going to give up, because now this is about me. You know, have you ever had a situation, maybe it's just me, where after you have a conversation, you've been arguing for about 20 minutes, and then they say something, and then the light bulb goes off, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. I'm too deep now, I'm still going. Forget that. I am not, this is about me versus you. I'm not going to let you win. You made me feel bad, so I'm not going to let you win. And whenever you kind of create that atmosphere, it's really problematic, because there's no compromise. There's no future. And so here's one thing that you can do, a simple technique that you can use to change the amount of emotion in a conversation when you see it starting to turn into an argument and not a negotiation. So typically, if we're arguing about something, most of the time, it's about something that is currently happening in the present or something that has already happened in the past. We're talking about rights and responsibility as it relates to something that has happened. But the future has not happened yet. It's really tough for me to be upset about something that hasn't happened. So what I often do is I change the grammatical tense of the conversation. So instead of using past tense, I use the future tense. So I would sacrifice the past in order to win the future. So I might say to the person, you know what, you have a really good point. Now, what do you think we can do to work together to make sure this doesn't happen again in the future? Make sense? And so the person feels great. Ha, I won. He said I was right. And so it's like, fine, I don't care about the past, it's done. I can't go back there. And so, but I really care about winning the future. That's what I want to do. And you frame the question in a way where it's collaborative. What can we do together to make sure the future looks good? Because at its best, negotiation is essentially a joint problem-solving endeavor. It's brainstorming. So I want to work with you to create a future together that works for both of us. That's the goal. Make sense? Good. How are we with time? What time is it? Time to get a watch, Kwame. What time? 12:38? Okay, we're good. Okay, one of the things that we need to do when we are negotiating is focus on why versus what. So a lot of times we're focusing on what we want and what the other person wants. And when we just focus on those specific positions, it's really easy for us to just get entrenched. I want this, you want that, I don't see how those things mix. But if we focus on why we want it, we can be a lot more creative. So here's an example. So imagine a brother and sister fighting over an orange. There's one orange left. And so they go to the mother, and what does the mother say? Cut it in half. I don't care, just cut it, whatever. And so the brother takes the orange, he peels it, throws away the rind, and eats the fruit. Then the sister takes the orange, peels it, and uses the rind for a cake that she's making and throws away the fruit. You see the difference here? So if they would have actually taken the time to ask why the person wanted it and actually engaged in some problem solving and cared to know what was going on the other person's side, they would have gotten 100% of what they wanted. But they were focusing on what versus why. Okay? So one of the best tools we can use in negotiation is the open-ended question. So what's the difference between open-ended and closed-ended questions? Who said? Oh, whether or not you're looking for a response. I like that. So can you give an example of a closed-ended question? It's raining. Or hey, it's raining, right? Yeah. So it's a binary response, yes or no, right? Any lawyers in the room? Oh man, Allison, it's just us? It's just us, I know. Jeez, okay. So there are these lawyers called litigators. They're aggressive. And so when you're on cross-examination on the stand, this is what litigators love to do. They like to ask closed-ended questions. You were there that night, right? You had the knife, right? Those types of questions. Now, if somebody's asking you questions in that way, how do you feel? Defensive. Yeah, I don't think you genuinely want to know what's going on my side. I feel like you're taking me somewhere that I don't want to go, right? And then on the other hand, we have open-ended questions. So what is an example of an open-ended question, and what do you think is the benefit of an open-ended question? Yes? Gather information, exactly. Is that what you're going to say?
I was going to say the opposite of what you were saying, right? Where were you that night?
Yeah.
You were in this location, correct?
Exactly. So who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are open-ended questions. And we ask it because we genuinely want to get information. So negotiation is an information game. The more information we have, the better off we are in this problem-solving endeavor. Because now I have a better idea of what it is I need and what it is you need to get the deal done. So there's something called the light theory of negotiation. Have you ever heard of that? No? You have? Oh, yes, you've seen me present before. I made it up. That's why I asked. Okay, so this is what it is. So imagine if you were coming into this room, but you've never been in this room before. But it's completely dark. Completely dark. We can't see anything. So what is the first thing we need to do? We need to turn on the lights. And in negotiation, we turn on the lights by asking questions. That is how we get to see the landscape that's in front of us. And so every question, we're turning on one light switch, we're seeing more. But a lot of times when we think, I'm right, you're wrong, I feel like I see everything. So I just bully straight through into the conversation. And that's problematic. Good? Good. With the remaining time we have, let's talk about conflict. But before we do that, any questions on negotiation? Good. All right. So when it comes to conflict, the emotional barrier we face typically is some kind of fear. Fear of failure, fear of losing something, something to that effect. And the solution is something that's really simple. So remember I talked about Kai, my 3-year-old? So we're going to bring him back. So every morning, I have to get Kai ready to go to school. Every morning. My wife's a doctor, and so she's very busy. So I take Kai to school, and she's already gone by the time he gets up. And so the routine earlier this year was he would start the morning off by telling me everybody he loves more than me. Okay? So he would start off by saying, I want mommy. And I said, Mommy's not here, Kai. She's at work. Okay, that was our routine. And then it started to escalate. And so he said, I would say, good morning, Kai. Good morning, Daddy. I want mommy. Mommy's not here. You know this. Okay, I want grandma. Grandma's not here. You know this. I want Uncle Kobe. So Uncle Kobe's my brother who lives in Cincinnati. So now it's starting to get hurtful, okay? and then he said, I want Buxton. So this begs the question, who is Buxton? Buxton is my brother's dog, okay? And so now I know I need to do something different. So I bought a book called How to Talk So Children Would Listen and How to Listen So Children Would Talk. And what they said in the book is you need to acknowledge emotions. I was like, that's it? I'm a lawyer. Listen, dude, I get things done. I'm not going to acknowledge emotions, but okay, fine, let's do it. So the next morning, he wakes up and he says, I want mommy. And so I said, you want mommy, Kai? Yeah, I want mommy. You love mommy, don't you? Yeah, I love mommy. And you would want mommy to be here right now, right? Yeah, I wish mommy were here. Okay, would you like to brush your teeth? Yeah, let's brush our teeth. I was blown away and a little bit annoyed because I wanted the solution to be more complex. It's like, this is a serious issue for me. I want a complex issue to a complex solution for a serious issue, right? But no, a lot of times the emotional barrier just requires for you to acknowledge the emotion, slow down, and legitimize what they're saying. So what we need to do is we need to learn how to empathize without agreeing. And that's really tough to do, especially when you are feeling emotionally distraught too, and the other person most likely is not going to empathize with you. But what you need to do is you need to take the first step. So it's something called compassionate curiosity. So the first step is acknowledging emotions, like we said. The next step is first asking questions with compassion. And then the third step is engaging in joint problem solving, the brainstorming, essentially. So we acknowledge the emotion to remove that emotional impediment. And then we ask questions to learn what the situation is. And then once you do that effectively, you've removed the emotion and now it becomes a negotiation. And that's it. So this begs the question then, how are we able to empathize and acknowledge emotions without agreeing, without telling the person that, hey, I'm just going to go with your side? How do we do that? Yes? Very good. Did everybody hear that? Okay. A lot of it has to do with whether or not they feel as though you understand and you care. Correct? That's good. Yeah.
Sometimes you can find common ground on something and then use that to help start the conversation on things you don't find.
Very good. So she said a lot of it starts with finding common ground. And that's really critical. Really critical. But the thing is, like I said before, these conflicts and negotiation most likely are going to be with the people who are closest to us. And so if they're close to us for some reason. If we are working in the same company, we ultimately have the same goal. And so what you should do in these conversations, like you said, is we want to start with common ground. You're here because of XYZ. I'm here for the same reason. So what I want to do is engage in this conversation so we can both further that mission. Right? And starting there already starts to lower the emotional barriers that you might face. It's a really good question. Good point. Saw your hand?
I imagine you're familiar with the crucial conversation.
Yeah.
They suggested there to put the relationship first, right? If you care about the relationship after the conversation, and then that's kind of where your goal is to preserve that you're not trying to alienate somebody, you want to still be their friend when it's over, that you can.
That's good. Yeah, that's a really great point. That's a good point. Did I see another hand over here? Okay. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to these difficult conversations or crucial conversations is that we talk too much. We talk way too much. And when you're talking, the other person, yeah, hopefully they're listening, but they're starting to get defensive because they always feel as though they have something really, really, really important to say. You might disagree, but they feel that, and that's important because we're acknowledging their emotions, right? So when I negotiate, one of the goals is to keep the breakdown of communication about 70-30, where they're speaking 70% of the time and I'm only speaking 30%. So if I'm doing that, what does that mean for the negotiation? I'm listening, good, that's one thing. And if I'm listening, that means I'm getting more information. And that creates an information asymmetry in my direction. I'm learning more relative to them, and that's good. There's another interesting thing that most people miss. What is another benefit to listening more? Keep your mouth quiet. I like that. Less opportunity to make mistakes. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah? You hear what they're saying, and so you're understanding more their emotional needs and their substantive needs. Very good.
Keeping eye contact, looking at her.
Oh, that's good. Yes, keeping eye contact. That's really important, especially now. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm talking to somebody and they're looking at their phone. Drives me insane. Drives me absolutely insane. So yes, doing that is going to be really important. Put the phone away. Just do that. That'll be important to show it that you care. If you're able to get the other person talking that much, it also shows that you're asking great questions. Because a lot of times, if they're afraid, they might not want to share. Especially if you're one of those rare people who actually cares about emotionally how the person feels. Oh, they might believe, well, this is business. I don't feel comfortable sharing my emotions in business, right? So you need to make them feel comfortable by asking questions and actually bringing that out. And the funny thing is if you are asking questions, the other person's talking, and when people are talking, they feel as though they're in control, but if you're asking questions, you're actually the one in control. It's like the difference between having your hand on the steering wheel and your foot on the gas or brake pedal. I want my hand on the steering wheel because we want to take this in a direction that I believe is positive, that is beneficial for this conversation. And so you're going to answer my questions. But at the same time, you're going to feel as though you have control because you're talking. Make sense? Good. Teresa, how much time do we have? 5 minutes. Okay. We can do one of two things. I can try to introduce a concept real quick, or we can move to questions and answers. What would you like to do? Concept? Hooray! Cool. I just made this up on Monday, so here it goes. So when it comes to these difficult conversations, there are 3 parts of the conversation that you absolutely need to control. Usually, I'm a collaborative guy, but there are 3 parts of the conversation that you need to have unrelenting control over. The first one is the pace of the conversation. How fast or how slow is this conversation going? The next one is the direction of the conversation. What are we talking about? And the third one is going to be the frame. And so framing, when it comes to negotiation, is the storyline we put over the conversation. Okay? So imagine, let's use this metaphor that I made on the way here. Since it was such a long car ride, I had time. So now that Kai is 3, he understands where a McDonald's is relative to daycare. And so when I try to drive home, he'll say, no, go that way, Daddy. Go this way. And here we are at McDonald's. Cool. Awesome. So I need to recognize, as the adult in the car, I have a better idea of the direction of where we should go, right? So I'm going to make sure that we go in that direction, which is home where healthy food exists, okay? And so when it comes to negotiation, a lot of times you are going to find yourself being the more mature party. You're going to often find yourself being the only person who came to a presentation like this or listens to a podcast like the Negotiate Anything podcast or something like that. So you're going to be better at negotiating than the other person. So it's going to be up to you to make sure that you direct the conversation in a way that's positive. So going back to when we were talking about arguing, how I said sacrifice the past in order to have a good future, that's what you're going to need to do. If somebody introduces red herrings into the conversation, we need to refocus them on something that's actually salient, that's important, right? So that's controlling the direction. The frame. If we are driving, we want to be in a nice car. If you have a choice, you want to be in a nice car, not an ugly, junky car, right? And so that's the storyline that we put on the conversation. So before the conversation starts, I would start off by saying, listen, I just want to start off by apologizing because I know this has been a difficult situation for you. And so I care about our relationship and I care about where this business is going. So I want to make sure that whatever happens today, that those things like our relationship is still in a good place. Is that all right? That's the storyline I put over. And that is one of the few times that I will make sure that I'm talking at the very, very, very beginning before somebody comes in and tells me, Kwame, let me tell you about you. You know, I don't want that. I want to put the storyline over the conversation so we already start off in a positive way. Okay, so that's the direction, that's the frame, and the pace. So what I do oftentimes is I help to coach the negotiation team for the Moritz College of Law. So they have a traveling team that goes and competes against other schools. And what we do is we spar, we go back and forth to try and go through the scenarios to see how they respond to different situations. And I love doing this because it allows me to be unreasonable to see how they respond. So I like messing with them. So I would intentionally do things to make them upset to see how they respond. And what they often do is they start going a lot faster. A lot faster. Because they're afraid, their adrenaline is pumping, and they want to make their points rapid fire. And so the conversation starts to break down because it's going way, 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 way too fast. It becomes a game of conversational ping pong. Point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. And now we have an argument because I don't want to lose and you don't want to lose. So what you need to do is recognize when the pace is going too quickly and slow it down. And you can do this by asking a question instead of just making rapid fire comments. So say, listen, things are getting kind of fast right now. Can you go back and tell me a little bit more about how you feel about XYZ? And so now they have to stop, go back on track, and talk about what you say is important by responding to the question, and it slows down. Does that make sense? Did that metaphor make sense? It was a good car ride then. That's good. Good. Well, before I go, any questions before I go? Yes?
You talked about the discussions between two people. What happens or how does it change if you have a group?
When you have more people? Yeah.
Say you have a group at work or you have a group at church or, you know.
Now, when it comes to multi-party negotiations, there are a couple things to keep in mind. The first thing to keep in mind is momentum, because once an idea, good or bad, takes hold, it is hard to stop. So it's important to be, in those conversations, to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of making sure that your point takes the lead. And one way, to the second point, you can do this is by engaging in coalition building. So before we have this multi-party conversation with all of the people at the table, I'm going to try to be strategic about engaging in negotiations with each person before we get to the table, so I can win them over and have a more simple conversation, a simple negotiation. So before we get to the table and actually have the discussion as a group, I already know where everybody stands, and I can try to win before the conversation begins. That make sense? Yeah. But I think when it's not possible, then you have to be aware of the momentum issue. So you can try and be more aggressive up front. Great question. Anything else? Good. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. This was fun. And thanks, Teresa, for the invitation.